I started a quite interesting project recently, and hopefully a series of projects. This is totally new to me. I'm a professional programmer for many long years with heavy experience in C Sharp, C++, Java, Python, TypeScript, hell, lot of languages and business application development, object-oriented development, class library building, managing teams of people. But I never touched game development. So that I think actually I have zero interest in actual games, but I'm much more interested in simulations. These game engines could be used excellently for simulations, real-time simulations, which could be quite important for engineering projects. So I have started my journey of learning Unity, and this was the project I found quite reasonable, and I have progressed till the 6th video when I decided to give a try to integrate this project with GitHub. Interestingly, Unity out of the box, it doesn't support GitHub, so therefore you have to find a workaround. Today is 2022, so definitely my version is completely up to date with the latest version with Unity, latest version of the tools that I'm using here in this project. So how to make a existing Unity project, how to upload and how to work with GitHub. So the first thing is that you need, of course, Git, the command line toolset. Is quite straightforward, very easy to download and install. And then you also need the GitHub Desktop. There is a good reason I want to use it. It's very easy to use, and it's really up to date and has a number of excellent features. And what is also important, that this GitHub Desktop, it has large file storage, LFS, Git LFS support, and installed together immediately within the project. So I don't want to go into the details of LFS. I'm not an expert myself. Typically my projects, I'm pretty sure they will not have large files, but in any case I wanted to make upfront my project ready for large file storage compliant, and I think that could be an important aspect, that upfront you start your project with LFS support. This GitHub Desktop, as it is written here, has built-in support, but still, if you want, of course, it's completely possible just to download the standalone Git large file storage extension, install it, and they are readily available for your project. And here you go. The most important command is then git lfs install, which initializes LFS support for your projects in the repository. And these tracking of these large binary files can be done with an attributes git attributes file, and that's one of the key points. Another important asset is that we have an official GitHub supported git ignore, a Unity git ignore. So when you create a new repository on GitHub, then you will have immediately the option to select a Unity git ignore. But in my scenario, I'm not creating the repository upfront in the GitHub page. Instead, I'm going to use the GitHub Desktop to create a repository from an existing local repository. And the other important thing is this gist, which contains quite useful Git Attributes LFS support. So these are the two files that could be important. So the first thing is, of course, you just create your project. Here is my Unity project. I'm not going to open it. So I has just completed video 6. So the project is significantly large. Of course, not a huge files, but it has quite a number of files and assets and PNG files and a lot of files, but most of these files are not that big. So no real large files, but anyhow. So when you have this project, in my case, this is my project location, N-Drive Unity Flow 2D folder. Because in Unity, you always, anyway, work with Visual Studio. I think it could be quite useful to start with Visual Studio to do additional steps before creating a GitHub repository from this existing project. And simply open this folder, open a local folder, navigate to your location, and this is where I am, and this is my project. It contains, of course, my scripts, and at the same time, the first couple of things that you should do is, first of all, create a gitignore file. I have already created one, and then in this gitignore file, just create one and copy the contents from this file. The way I usually do is copy raw contents, just copy it here and paste into this folder, and that's all. Be prepared that this gitignore assumes that it is placed in the same location where the library, temp, object, builds, and all of these Unity folders are created. The second file you create is just add a Git Attributes file, like so, and again from this gist, just copy, go over to raw and copy it from this location, copy paste, and you are done. Again, these Git attributes are for LFS support. Another file which I typically create is a README file. README files on GitHub are markdown files. I don't want to go into the details, very simple, just use hashmark for the title, add some comments, links, and this is the link to the YouTube videos which I used here for this sample 2D games. Of course, when I have done my version as my remake, the game programming part was completely new to me, so I mostly followed strictly the way the instructor explained what to do. But when programming, because I'm an experienced programmer, here and there I modified significantly the application, the C# scripts. And these are the links which I just mentioned. And these are the two Git commands that I'm going to use into this, apply in this folder to initialize the repository. And there is one more thing here. This is the license file. It's really completely optional. I just simply included here a typical MIT license file. It's up to you. So when these files are created here, most important is git ignore, of course, and git attributes for LFS support. The next step is to initialize this project. In Visual Studio, terminal, yes, it is opened in Unity Flow 2D in the project folder, and here just enter git init, which initializes the project, which means that it creates a .git subfolder, and actually that's all it does. And then next is just git lfs install. In that case, we just initialized or installed the LFS support into our repository. So that was the Visual Studio part. Now the next step is just to publish our application, and GitHub Desktop is what I'm going to use for repository management and Git management. I have already logged in, so when you install and start using GitHub Desktop, log in and it will immediately show your online repositories. And here in my case, just use add an existing repository from your hard drive. This is one possibility. The other possibility is in the file menu, add local repository. It doesn't matter which one you pick. And here just select your folder. In my case, this is the Flow 2D. Here you go. Select the folder and then add repository. It immediately detects that I have wanted to install LFS into that repository, and then it asks if I want to initialize for LFS2. Honestly, I have no clue what additional step it does, but anyway, I just press initialize git LFS in this case here. And what you can see that we have over 600 files. Keep in mind that these folders contains tens of thousands of files. So these 635 files are actually the real contents. The rest are just additional temporary files or binary files or whatever that are not standard, not necessary components in the repository. The next step is just the commit. These are initial version after video number 6. Description, I don't know, this is the command, and commit to master. At this point, what I have done are just commit all these files into the local repository. At this time, when I click here repository, and when I want to view on GitHub, this repository is not available on GitHub. This is only in the local system, in actually where they are just registered locally here in this folder, Unity Flow, this location. So the next step is to publish the repository. You can click either here or there, doesn't matter, publish repository. And this is the step where you can decide what should be your GitHub project name. Let's keep it Flow 2D. and for the description is a demo to the Unity project, and I want to make it public, and practically that's all. And then I press publish repository. This is the time or point after which all of these 600 files are uploaded over to GitHub, and then it will be available for downloading or cloning on other computers. My practice is I have also a desktop computer which I love very much as a powerful, but also when I'm out of my home office I have another two notebook computers that are powerful enough to work with these 2D projects. So therefore I use GitHub repos to synchronize between my different environments. So at this time I click here the repository view on GitHub, and I am expecting, yes, this is the project we have on GitHub, and then the rest is just the standard project GitHub usage as visible here, because the whole project LFS has been installed, ignore, git ignore, initialize, so everything is in place. So that is my suggested initialization of a typical Unity project. Definitely other tool sets for this initialization could work, but this is what I have elaborated and figured out, and I think that's the simplest.